Sir, the stock market hath plummeted, and investors are pulling out funding from with our institutioneth.
Aye, 'tis ghastly. 'Tis in a most wondrous interest to cease these depressed opulent juveniles from failing, so we can keep grabbing their wealth.
Aye, it would be much advisable. However, best be certain you thee sees the inflation at which hour this period of strife hath endeth.
Thee hast mine own word. Hey, it's 1969, and we're conscripting. You need to go to war. The country needs you. Oh, hell no. I'm a student. I'm enrolled in college. Oh, you're one of those guys, huh? I hope they let you fail. But I guess they won't, considering how much their standards have dropped. You got lucky, kid. Daddy's paying for your school while men fight for our country. Yeah, whatever.
Hello, everyone. Drum roll, please. Our research question. How might performance-oriented learning environments be reformed to mitigate the fear of academic failure? Boo! Banana.
Tomato.
No! Why does this always happen to me? No.
What an amateur. Tusk. You can't just ask this question without defining the fear of failure and its possible causes. What a newbie.
Okay, so let's define fear of failure. It refers to the tendency of trying to avoid failure due to the anticipated shame or embarrassment of not succeeding in an achievement task. Our research focuses on fear of failure in education and its effects on school engagement and academic performance. We'll explore this through goal orientation theory, a social cognitive theory developed by educational psychologist Carol Dweck in the 70s and 80s. This theory suggests that everyone has a personal goal orientation, which refers to the relatively stable reasons we pursue achievement-related tasks. Your goal orientation depends on 1. How you evaluate success. Do you feel successful after mastering a task or after performing well? And 2. How you view the task itself, as an opportunity to succeed or to avoid failure.
This leads to 4 possible goal orientations. 1. Mastery approach, where you aim to improve and understand a task fully. 2. Mastery avoidance, where you try to avoid declining competence relative to your past performances. 3. Performance approach, where you seek to prove your competence and outperform others. And lastly, 4. Performance avoidance, where you aim to avoid seeming incompetent and avoid performing worse than others. Why does this matter? Personal goal orientations interact the learning environment. Understanding this is crucial, especially since the current higher education system often emphasizes performance. In a study done with several thousand Canadian high schoolers, high GPA was connected with higher levels of anxiety. We examined a 2019 study that surveyed students at a highly selective college on this topic. 2 key variables were considered. 1, the goal orientations we've defined, and 2, the perceived learning environment. There are 2 types. 1. Mastery-oriented, which emphasizes effort and improvement, and 2. Performance-oriented, which focuses on high grades and encourages interpersonal competition.
The interaction of personal goal orientation and the learning environment leads to 4 possible outcomes: mitigation, vitiation, exacerbation, or attenuation. The 2 we'll focus on are mitigation and attenuation. To illustrate, let's use the Yo Gabba Gabba cast. Suppose Broby has a performance avoidance orientation in a mastery-oriented learning environment. The positive influence of this environment lessens the negative effects of his orientation. This is mitigation. On the other hand, Plex has a mastery approach orientation in a performance-oriented learning environment. His orientation lessens the negative effects of the environment. This is attenuation. This may happen because a mastery approach mindset avoids negative inferences about one's ability during social comparison, and failure is seen as a part of learning. Essentially, our key takeaway is that a mastery-oriented learning environment can help students adopt a mastery approach mindset, which, due to attenuation, is less affected by the learning environment. that was a lot of info, but it sets the stage for our discussion today. Now, let's talk about why addressing fear of failure is important.
Dude, I genuinely cannot stand math anymore. Like, I'm this close to crashing it.
Wait, why? Didn't you get like a 93 on the last test?
I did, but the tests just make me so nervous. Like, I sit down and then I forget everything I know.
I get that. I also had test anxiety growing up.
Yeah, it's weird though, because it's not just tests, it's just math in general. I can't wait to be done with it when I graduate.
Wait, aren't you going into life sci? Don't you need first year calc for that?
Yeah, I heard that. So, I'm thinking of switching to a different program. That way I don't have to take math anymore.
Student 1 represents the 40.9% of students within which math anxiety correlates with STEM participation, even when math ability is controlled for. Their choice to avoid pursuing a degree in STEM based on their math anxiety despite good grades is one taken by many students in the modern day, having serious implications on long-term career trajectories. Connecting back to our findings from earlier, as a high GPA was correlated with higher levels of anxiety, it suggests that there may be possibility that many highly capable students avoid paths they would otherwise succeed in order to avoid the accompanying stress. This same study found that for every standard deviation increase in math anxiety, there was a corresponding 10.9% decrease in the number of STEM courses taken over the 4 years of university. This avoidance effect was more pronounced in students with an aptitude in non-STEM courses, highlighting the unconscious factors at play when driven by a fear of failure. The environment within which we learn plays a crucial role in shaping student motivation. One study done, examining different university grading strategies, compared and analyzed the differences between intrinsic, extrinsic, and amotivation levels between traditional, hybrid, and narrative assessment style universities. Traditional universities used interval grading, while narrative universities had no interval grades given and one narrative final assessment, with hybrid universities having a mix of both across their courses. The study found that narrative university students were more likely to follow the instructor's direction for skill improvement rather than being driven by grades. Oppositely, grades-based university students were more likely to prioritize avoiding low grades rather than their self-improvement. Students who had a mixture of both assessment styles would often have a disposition to taking feedback to avoid guilt rather than for genuine engagement's sake. This study also highlighted the correlations between grades promoting anxiety, gaps in understanding, social comparison, and fear of failure. Fear of failure can manifest in various forms, including overstriving, optimism, self-protecting, and failure acceptors. Overstrivers specifically are people who exhibit high-performance goal orientations and engage in adaptive behaviors such as increased effort, self-regulation, and resilience. Although this is often the societal ideal in a student, such students with a strong academic orientation are more likely to engage in defensive pessimism, a strategy where failure is anticipated so they can be motivated to prepare extensively to prevent failure. Although this mindset increases effort and preparation, it may also increase anxiety and deplete confidence over time.
Now you're probably wondering, what do I do with all this? Well, that's why I'm here to wrap things up. Remember our research question? How might performance-oriented educational environments/systems be reformed to mitigate the fear of academic failure? To address both the issues we've discussed and the question itself, we recommend promoting a mastery approach orientation to help students to manage anxiety. Here are 3 potential strategies. Number 1, incorporating more practice testing with feedback only and no grades. This approach would encourage students to focus on understanding the material without the associated anxiety of penalties or grades. It promotes mastery-oriented learning and is applicable to subjects that often have graded tests, allowing students to use familiar learning methods to improve, but without the stress of letter grades. Number 2, implementing a yearly project course for upper level students. Mastery-oriented learning doesn't have to be confined to traditional subjects. By assigning one pass or fail project entirely of their choice per year, outside the mandatory curriculum, students can engage in invention-based activities, otherwise referred to as discovery or structured inquiry, without the pressure of the grades. Research shows that such activities encourage students to adopt a mastery approach goal orientation. The absence of a grading scale reduces GPA-related anxiety, shifting the focus to demonstrating effort rather than numerically comparing work to peers. And last but not least, using student-designed self-assessments. Instead of students ranking themselves on a set scale, especially one that may be incompatible with their personal learning goals, students define what development looks like and assess their progress accordingly. This helps students focus on personal growth and the steps they need to take to get there based on their analysis. This method addresses the stress associated with performance-oriented comparison often observed at traditional institutions. We understand the importance of standardized measures for certain qualifications, and within the scope of our research, we're not suggesting a complete rewrite of the system. Our goal would be a refinement of the system by applying these strategies where possible to help reduce stress in current classrooms. While research in this field is ongoing, our main takeaway, and yours, is that mastery-oriented learning benefits not only learning in short-term tasks, but also lifelong learning. By integrating these ideas into existing systems, we can alleviate some of the anxiety that students face today.